the young leaders for ULI in Berlin during that, and just a week ago joined the Executive European Young Leader Committee. Yeah.
Great, so we can see this in action, which I like. Sebastian.
Yeah, thank you, and also good morning, everybody. Sebastian Volker, I'm head of our team doing real asset and alternative investment consulting in Frankfurt. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about our PwC Global Young Leaders Initiative and how it started, and also what we try to do. I've been an ambassador for the German real estate practice for the last 7 years now, and I just want to give you an insight of how it brought the company further and gave the opportunity to build a network below the global leaders. Let's put it that way.
No, that's great. And the session is deliberately relaxed, so if anybody's got any views, you can honestly just join in the discussion. Don't worry about that. It's it's good to get your sense of what's happening and what you're seeing in the market. Sebastian, maybe let's start with you, because you're obviously at the senior end of the young leaders, if I could say that. But it would be good. But you're obviously looking at how you're bringing in young leaders into PwC. Obviously, a very large global company. Yep. So maybe just talk us through a little bit of the strategy there and how that actually works and what some of the aims are.
Yeah. Happy to do so. The Global Real Estate Young Leaders Initiative was founded by Craig Hughes, our former global real estate leader at PwC. And what he wanted to do is that he said, on a leader level and a country leader level, there is already a network. People are talking to each other. They talk about clients. They talk about topics. But it's really hard to then operationalize it with the teams on this level. And that's why he said, we should have some young leaders who participate in a network, and there should be like one person to be nominated by each country to be on a global real estate young leaders board, where we then decided on how do we want to work together, how do we want to exchange information about projects, about clients, about topics within the PwC network and the real estate practice to get most of it from everybody. Yeah? And that's where it all started, with an initiative where we had like monthly meetings to talk about what is going on in each country right at the moment, what is best practice that can be brought to other countries, and who will be the accelerators on a, let's say, young leaders level to take the lead in several topics and to push topics further. And we then had a reporting to the Global Real Estate Leadership Board, so the senior people, to then talk about how do we implement it. And that worked actually really good. We had a Young Leaders Conference. There was still is a very popular event each year where all the young leaders, experienced senior associate managers, young senior managers come together to then also have this kind of exchange over topics and to come together and to share knowledge, share information. And it actually also for myself led to a lot of some really interesting topics where we found out, for example, that our colleagues in Dubai had a project with a Saudi Arabian bank. We were presenting what we do in Germany for the real estate financial service practice. They came to us and said, this is exactly what our client needs, but we can't do it from Dubai because we don't have the experience. Do you want to come with us to the client, tell them what you do, and then maybe you can do a project? And 2 years ago, we did the first project with the client, and right now it looks like at the end of this year we can start the second project with exactly the same client. So this shows on how the young leader initiatives especially with the global initiatives, help to work together, to share information, and to bring the whole business further. And I was very proud to be part of it for 7 years now. But as you said, this year with my promotion, I will hand over the stick to the next young leader. So to bring in fresh blood again, fresh ideas again, and to motivate the people to take the initiative further on the next level with the next generation.
Great. I think it's slightly terrible in a way to suddenly be told that you're no longer young. You know, you normally have a sort of time to get around to that view yourself, to adjust to it, but to be told that's it, you know, you're no longer young.
Shame on you, Richard.
Arianna, let's pick up from you. I'm going to come in a minute to, you know, because I think it's interesting. We'll, you know, there's a view then from what's happening on the corporate level, but also what's happening on the corporate level with you, but also obviously the ULI and the associations, what's happening there. And then Bart, we'll pick up with you because you're obviously an entrepreneur. So then that's a different set of challenges and interesting elements there. But I suppose, Arianna, just coming from you, what was your sense when you came into the industry? And were there issues in terms of, you know, because it's interesting that the pandemic has obviously created more of a focus on well-being, work-life balance, those kinds of aspects. But it's also made it quite difficult to meet people, I think, because there's less time in the office, there's less of that. So I suppose, what challenges have you seen as you've developed in the industry?
Thank you, Richard. So when I joined the industry and also Berlin Hyp, it was September 2020. So it was right after the first lockdown, coming into the second lockdown. I met most of my people working with in the elevator, which was good because you meet everyone, and you don't know who is who with their masks on. So sometimes you have a board member who you ask where they work and they don't know how to reply. So they're like, oh, well, I work up on the top floor. It was really a challenge, but at the same time a huge opportunity, because depending on how you approach it, if you have people who help you, who are those accelerators, as you said, who are those multipliers, if you have associations which help you, sometimes it's enough to say, I need help, and they can help you. You can help them help you, right? So this is something where it starts, and this is where ULI comes in. Urban Land Institute is helping a lot, but also on the corporate level, right? I don't know if I can jump in on the positive leadership already.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
should wait a moment.
It's a very loose format. You can jump into whatever you like.
Always looking for guidance. So, concerning leadership, a very dear topic to me and to ULI and to Berlin Hyp. Exceptional leadership needs to stop being exactly what it is, right? Exceptional. It needs to become the norm. It needs to become a standard positive leadership that is enhanced. And to say it bluntly, in my opinion, you probably know it best from your own experience, but it needs to be top down as well as bottom up. So the approach needs to come from the decision makers who put the right people, the leaders, the maybe not always natural leaders, because let's not be naive, huge corporations don't have the luxury to always put natural leaders in all the decision making positions in order to then be the multipliers. But this can also be learned. Leadership can be learned, because you don't need to be only the expert in your field, but you need to be the expert of your little crowd, of your team, of your department. You need to understand your people. You need to know what they need. Do they need tough love? Do they need sympathy? How can you help them help you again, or the corporation in that sense? So this is a top-down approach where, I mean, we've seen it with Berlin Hyp massively over the past, in my career, actually it started with when I joined, where the board made it, the hierarchy, very, very horizontal, very flat. The decision makers are extremely approachable, and that helps both ways. But there's also, this is met with a lot of appreciation and a lot of respect. So the people don't abuse the fact that they are now approachable, but they actually respect it and are grateful for it. And then we come to the young leaders and to the Urban Land Institute, which really, this is the multipliers, right? So not the bottom-up approach that I spoke about, that starts with you can't complain behind closed doors about what is hurting you and what your needs are. You have to confront in a very concise way and give feedback. You need to tell them what you need from them, or where we could optimize your environment. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, I'm pretty sure if everyone thinks now, everyone can come up with just one person that is the person who's very good about it, very positive about the confrontation, and who can help you get there, who can help you convey your message to the decision makers or to the environment. And then we come to the young leaders, and that's the Urban Land Institute. That's how I was received as well. You come into a room full of people who are ready for it, to accelerate, to help, to move the industry, and actively are doing so. You can see the results. So this is where the passion comes in, where the strong energy comes in. Those are people who want to change the industry, who want to change their own and the environment for the ones around them. So very appreciative of the environments we have currently in the real estate sector.
Good. And are you that person, Ariana, within Berlin Hip that people go to challenge?
Ask my bosses, I'm pretty sure.
Good. Bart, just coming to you, it'd be good to get your perspective because obviously, you know, being an entrepreneur, having to build that business yourself, that's a very different perspective. So maybe just share, you know, how that's been for you, what's happening, what changes there have been, and if there's anything that you take on board from the conversations we've had so far.
Okay, so maybe let me just get back to the beginning. So for my career, I'm an interior architect who wasn't really lucky, you know, to start a career at the right time. It was a global real estate crisis, 2009, you know, when I graduated as an architect. So I decided to go back to study. When I finished, it was still not the best time. So I thought, okay, let's just spin off a little bit and start my first company. Luckily enough, this was a time that startup called the Student Hotel needed somebody who could be like an interdisciplinary connector, you know, for diverse sets of teams, and that's how I started. And from there, yeah, it was basically learning by doing, you know, since you don't have like, let's say, economic or financial background. In my case, yeah, this was basically my case. You just learn by you just basically learn doing business by doing. So in my case, we've been building, you know, client to client, and it's, you know, and it moved from as I mentioned before, from working on student housing, which is super fun. You know, it was a topic which was quite close to me, and I myself couldn't find student accommodation back in the UK when I was studying. In Netherlands, it was also quite difficult. So back to the drawing board and basically trying to fix the problem, deliver more student housing to the market, and then as of then, you know, working on co-living. You know, I think I'm quite happy, you know, with all these different topics that we are touching. These are quite nice topics, you know, to also attract young talent. So so you've got diversity of these talents, you know, that join the company. There is this freshness, excitement, you know, and you can keep it fun. So so yeah, this learning by doing becomes real fun when, you know, when you've got good clients, you know, good partners, and an excited team. So this is my story.
No, that's good. And Sebastian, we've talked a little bit there about the sort of top-down side of it, but what skills, particularly at PwC, are you looking for in your young leaders? What are the things that you're looking out for? You know, we'll come to diversity in the next session, but it'd be interesting, you know, so what are your criteria? What are you looking for? And is that also about kind of changing somehow the, you know, the people that there are at PwC?
So maybe to start up with, the profiles different that we are looking for today compared to let's say maybe 10 years ago. I would say yes, a little bit, because the world today is moving so fast, and the topics that we are working on right at the moment are moving so fast that, for example, for myself and my team, if I look for young talents and young leaders to to acquire for my team, it's not so important to look at what is their let's say education part of it. Yeah? For me, it's more important on what did they see on a practical level. Yeah? What kind of practica and something like that, apprenticeships, etc. did they do in the past, and what did they see already, and can transfer it into the business that we do today. So I for myself I'm looking for open-minded people that are also open to new challenges, because that's what we have to face like every day. We talked yesterday about ESG in real estate. Also there, the world is evolving and changing so fast that you have to be open-minded and be a front runner and somebody who really wants to take the challenge and wants to dive into new deep waters rather than doing let's say common business he did like 10 years before. So I don't know who said it, but the word is, if you do only the things you did before, you will just remain the same person that you were before. Yeah? And that's why I'm looking for people that have an inspiration. And I say, well, with every new person we would like to acquire for the team, yeah, it has to bring the whole team further. Yeah? So I'm happy to get a lot of people that are even better than myself. Yeah? So, in the past, that was a challenge, because some people said, well, I have the status that I have now, and the people I want to hire, I don't want them to maybe at some point and someday challenge my position. So I want to keep them small, for example. But I think, especially with the time we are evolving now, this changes a lot. The levels of hierarchy come down a lot. So you talk more like on one level, the people get more, how do you say, so they're free to design their work packages, how it works best for them and works best for the clients. And I think that will go further in this direction, that you give a lot more of, how do you say, Verantwortung to your people, and more trust to your people, that they do the work themselves, especially with today's way of working in the home office, for example. It is important that you let your people know that you trust them with the work. Of course, it has to work out. The client has to be happy. The work has to be done. But still, it changes the way of working. And I think to get these people for the job that you can trust to do this, and that they appreciate the trust you give them in the daily work, that is something that will become more and more important in the next years.
Good. And Ariana, be interested. Bart sold the real estate side very well as an exciting, vibrant, interesting career. But I suppose when you're thinking about your friends who were working in other areas, what did they think about you going into real estate? What was their view of it? Did they see, what's the perception of it in the outside world, I suppose?
Yeah, so I studied something very different, right? I was in the luxury studies before, and I added on top during Corona the real estate studies at ESSEC in Paris. And my whole environment of my friends and my peers is from a very different sector. So the first thing they said, it's natural. The second thing they said, okay, she finally found her dream job, because it took me 31 years to find my dream job. But you do arrive there if you, depending on, some people know from the beginning, so perfect, they can pursue it. Some people keep trying out, and this is, again, when it comes down to the environment, and when it comes to what you said as well, to being open-minded as an employer and being open-minded as an association, like the young leaders are of the ULI, but also like Berlin Hyp was. The conversation that I had with my bosses, I have a ton of experience that I did before in different industries, which for him was the most important thing, because I have the life experience. LTV, debt deals, this is all that you can learn very easily. The expertise you can learn easily with the people around you. But the mindset that you bring, the life experience that you brought just by knowing different people, that was very crucial to him. And this is, I think, where the real estate industry is changing on what it is seeking. And as well, I think how it's trickling down, especially entrepreneurs. I think this is something that is also in the industry right now becoming a strong voice. And this is shaping and helping. But what I really wanted to get back to is as well, Sebastian, you said the trust that needs to be built based on appreciation. And this is something that, in my eyes, everything is based on. The trust is built by the appreciation, and the appreciation needs to come from both ways. So it needs to come top down. Again, very bluntly said, top down, but as well bottom up. When do we become scared to appreciate, or to even say, I'm sorry, or I did something wrong? This is all that helps us get to that point where we can all help each other.
And is there a challenge? One of the things that, thinking about when I was your age or younger, there's no way I would have done a Zoom call with the chairman in the company in order to discuss something that I wasn't sure about, and it might have been a really stupid question. But so you used to wait until they were up near the coffee, and then just casually sidle up next to them have a coffee and then just say, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm having this, I'm having this issue with this. How should I resolve that? And normally it wasn't a stupid question, or even if it was, they were kind enough not to mention it to me. But that was a way of learning, in essence. So I don't know, are those things available? Do the senior management make themselves available for that? Are they accessible in that way? You both picked that up, yeah.
I can start going. It's exactly what you say. It is important, especially the way we work now, to think about how to handle these things in the environment we have right at the moment. And we thought about so in each partner group, they have different solutions how to deal with it. Some try to do like a 10-minute catch-up call in the morning. It was free for all. Who wanted to joined, and to have this sort of little small chat area, to have the opportunity to then ask things that you wouldn't ask in a larger Zoom call, for example. We have weekly catch-up calls where we say, well, we want to have everybody updated on what happened during the week and what are the things that have to be done in the next week, and maybe who's available and has some spare time, was not expected to be there because, I don't know, project was postponed, or there's something where they wait for information from the client so they can work on it right at the moment, and so they have time to help others out on their projects. And I think in the current environment where we have a lot of home office, and at PwC in my team currently people are on average working 3 to 4 days from home. It is important to have this exchange, especially for the young people coming to us and for the new joiners coming to us, because otherwise they wouldn't catch up with the colleagues who are already there, and to get to know each other a little bit better, to have not only project and topics to talk about and calls, but also get to know the people personally. And we spend so much time together at work, especially with us in consulting, where it is only a people's business. We don't produce something. We work together to solve problems for our clients. And that is important, to trust the colleagues, to get to know the colleagues, who know what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses of one or the other. And that is something you don't learn on the, let's say, client calls you have on Zoom. That is something you learn off topic. In the past was that you went for beer in the afternoon. Right now, if the people are a lot in home office, you have to find other ways to have like a chat after work, and that is something where we worked out during the pandemic, that we did some online events, after work online events. Had a lot of fun doing, for example, online escape rooms. That is something I can really recommend. It's fun to do, and that is something where we actually learn to work with each other online. They get to know each other, learn how to communicate, to solve problems, and that is something that, from my point of view, should be done more often in the current environment, to help work together a lot more than we do right at the moment.
Okay, good. It'd be interesting just to pick up from you, Bart. In general, because you're an entrepreneur, therefore coming with a solution, are you generally dealing with people, when you're taking that solution to people, are they generally significantly older than you, higher up in terms of their businesses, I guess? And has the perception changed? Whereas before might they have thought, oh, who is this young person coming in to see me? Do you think there's been a change as the business begins to accept more prop tech, and therefore there are younger people in tech coming through that are providing valuable solutions?
I think, I think year to year is getting better. I mean, we see what kind of challenges we face currently. So with student housing and co-living, it's easier to have younger people working on this type of projects, because they're just closer, to the demographics that you in the end of the day you try to attract, to your buildings. But I mean, history for me shown, that with every crisis there is an opportunity, and with the last crisis, there was an opportunity to bring this young blood. I've seen more people of my age, entering to the space, with the early days of prop tech, but also new consultancies, new businesses that that are starting to promote this idea of co-living, purpose-built, shared living, mixed use, and that are really pushing the boundaries, that are questioning the status quo. And I think this has been more and more welcomed recently, especially that we are ahead of massive turbulence, in real estate, not because of COVID, not because of geopolitical situation, but also because of affordability issues. What we need to do with ESG. Actually, to really enter the day to day in our offices, in our businesses. But I would say overall, it's getting better, and I'm already happy how things are moving, and it's gonna get even better. So I'm quite positive.
Good. Did you want to pick that up?
Picking up one more time about the accessibility, maybe, because you asked how accessible or how approachable they are, and you said how you're doing those interactive activities to do that. And for us as well, literally my boss and my boss's boss is always one FaceTime away or one WhatsApp away, but it is again because we both trust each other, and they know if I already call or WhatsApp them, this is seriously urgent. And there has not been one call for 2 years that hasn't been answered immediately back. So this is this approachability. And if you need something with decision makers from the board, so that will be something, first I get the guidance from my bosses to make sure that everyone's time is used well, but you get a meeting within a day or two with everyone you need to. Maybe it's going to be different times because their schedules are maybe not humane, but you always get a meeting to discuss everything. And this approachability again comes from the trust that both sides know the time is not going to be abused, because they know I will be perfectly prepared, or if I'm not, I will say, wait a moment, I need to come back, I need to first prepare myself. And this is again our responsibility when we come in as young leaders. Always be perfectly prepared to respect everyone's time that you talk to, or say stop right here, or give me guidance how I can prepare towards getting there. And this is also with the young leaders. Thibault, one WhatsApp away, within an hour he's there because he knows it's urgent, and he gives you either guidance or he tells you, the answers you need. And this is where the approachability comes from, the trust again and the preparation.
I'm just going to finish on one around, because the session immediately afterwards we'll move into the diversity one. So I just wanted to pick up on just from everybody how important you see that in terms of this young leadership side and taking the industry forward and it being a more representative future for real estate, I guess. So quick one from you, Bart, on that. How important is that for you in terms of you building your business?
I think first of all, we are more environment sensitive, so this young leaders definitely have this environmental touch, and that's what brings hope, and that we can actually solve those issues rather sooner than later. I think that would be the main point, actually, believe in solving these environmental issues.
Yeah, appreciation. Honestly, for me, it's always about appreciation, and then we can change the sector from what it maybe used to be, but what it really isn't today anymore. You said it. You see, Richard, you said at the beginning, I think you see the change slowly, but maybe it's not that evident yet. But this is where we are at, and I think it's a very comfortable place to work hard to get us there.
No. In addition to that, I totally agree to that, but maybe in addition to that, I think to really attract young talents and young leaders, it's important to provide them a very attractive work environment. Currently, we have to face it, we are in, how do you say, the war for talents. We have a very attractive situation right at the moment that everybody's looking for talents, and that the talented people can choose how to work and who to work with, and with an attractive work environment, it becomes let's say, more attractive to hire these people, but not only to hire these people, but also to hold these people. So from my experience, and again, ESG is a very good example here. When we hire young people to come to us and we educate them for maybe 1 or maybe 2 years in our team, they get very, very attractive offers from other houses to change color. Let's put it that way. And we need to give them a perspective how to do a career in our house in order to keep them and to keep on working for us. And I think that's really important to think about how that can look like in the future. What are the demands that the young people and young leaders have today, also in terms of maybe a work-life balance, and to reflect how that fits with the business that we are doing and how it fits all together. Let's put it that way. But I'm sure that there is a way to attract the talents. It just needs a little bit of adaptation of the way we work as we did it like the past 10 to 20 years.
Perfect. And that's a very good introduction for the diversity session that we're just going to have now.